So that's the idea, that I have my river. I don't need God. I have my river. And the river is the source of wealth. It's the source of bounty. And therefore, I can be self-made. I can be self-made. That's how the powers looked at things. Because this is what they wanted. They wanted to be totally independent, not subservient to anything else. And that's the contrary. Everything should be subservient to them. V'yetzias Mitzrayim hi hayetzia miklipa zu. Leaving Mitzrayim is leaving this klipa, leaving this aspect of imperfection, of impurity. Al ken omer, that's why it says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hosesicha me'eretz Mitzrayim. Meaning, what's a leimer? V'al yedei zeh, and thereby, tuchal lahamin, you can believe, v'ladash, to know, she'anochi balakayach shocha, I am the master of your strength. V'chol kaychacha mimeni, and all your strength is for me. In other words, I took you out of Eretz Mitzrayim. I took you out of the spiritual imperfection of Eretz Mitzrayim. The idea of being self-made, of being totally self-reliant, of being not subservient to anything else. I took you out of there because what I want you to be is one who recognizes that everything you have comes from me. So for that you have to be taken out of Eretz Mitzrayim. You have to be removed from the klipa of what Eretz Mitzrayim stands for. Now this is what he says, an amazing thing. An abundance of horses symbolizes strength. As we know, Mitzrayim was renowned for its horses. The Torah says that there's a prohibition of returning to Mitzrayim. Right? The king is told, Lo yarbo susim, you shouldn't amass horses. Pen yashiv esam Mitzrayim olaman harbei sus. Because he'd be tempted to send the people back to Mitzrayim to bring back horses. So what does the horse symbolize? So the horse symbolizes strength. Remember many verses. Sus muchen liyom mulchama. The sus is prepared for the day of war. And everyone says, Eilu berechav eilu basusim. These people use chariots and use horses. And everyone says, Lo begvuras sus yachpaf. That God does not desire the strength of the horse. In other words, horse is the symbol of strength. Obviously, it's the metaphor of the time. The horse was the tank of modern warfare. Right? It was the horse. So he says, Fal kain motzo mi Mitzrayim. And that's why its source was Mitzrayim. Of all the places, why are there horses? Because Mitzrayim is the place which symbolizes the desire to overpower, and therefore it's given the tool with which to overpower, which is the horse.
Call it horsepower.
Horsepower, right? Uva harbei sus, right? And amassing horses, who meishiv esam Mitzrayim. You bring them back to Mitzrayim. In other words, when it says in the Chumash that we're scared that the king might send the people back to Mitzrayim to amass horses, it means in a spiritual sense, right? If the king is allowed to amass horses, that means the king will see that his strength is dependent on horses. He is going back to the spiritual imperfection of Mitzrayim, which is to see his salvation, his victory, his accomplishment being a function of horsepower, so to speak. Hainu, that's also Inyan Ra, right? He'll revert back to that terrible idea, Shahoyiba, which the Egyptians had, Liftayach b'kaycham v'otzam yadam, v'heim spurim b'zel is garbus. Now they think that's a great thing. They think that's a great thing. They think that when you have horses and you have wealth and you can control others, that's a great thing. But it's uve'emes eitzu Yisrael eino is gabrus. By Jews, this is not a show of strength, ela shiflos. Ucheshabo heimu Mitzrayim. When they came to Mitzrayim, v'nishtaku b'klipa zu, and they became sunk into this klipa, nasu avodim, they became slaves, shu tachlos hashiflos. And there's nothing lower than being a slave. In other words, what Tzadok is saying is that that's really what happened. They came to Mitzrayim, and they stopped thinking in the traditional Jewish ways. They began thinking that success is a function of effort, it's a function of wealth, it's a function of the resources at hand. So they began to think like Egyptians. So therefore, they became slaves. In other words, they were reduced to lowliness. Because when you forsake what your strength should be and begin to focus on the ways of acting and the ways of thinking of other nations, then you are reduced to lowliness. I'll give you just a joke that illustrates this. A person once came through Chaim Kanievsky's Zaygesund, and he lived in Bnei Brak, a Yid, and he bought a new car. And he said he's worried about an iron heart. Bnei Brak is a very poor city, people don't have money, and people might be jealous, and he bought a new car. So Chaim said to him, says, tell me, have you ever finished Shas? He says, no. You ever finished the Masechta? He says, no. He says, don't worry, nobody in Bnei Brak is jealous of you. In other words, you think about it, it becomes a caricature. Whereas imagine you're living in Bnei Brak. I don't say Bnei Brak was what it purports to be. But the city of Torah and Kedusha and Hasidus and all these things. And you see a guy over there who's he's boasting about his new car. What do you think of it? This guy is a jerk. I mean, this is his pride in the city of Torah and Avodah and Hasidus, where he's proud of his new car. This guy's a laughing stock. It's humiliation. But on the other hand, if that same person would be living in, let's say, Toronto, and he'd buy a new car, and but not just a new Toyota, I'm talking about a new Lexus or better, right? A Jaguar. People would say, yeah, there was a book that was written called Off the Derech. I don't know if you had the opportunity to see it. This woman did research about this phenomenon of people going off the derech. So she records many, many stories of people that explain what happened. And one of the stories she mentions is that there was a certain boy who was off the derech. So he asked, what happened? So he says, my father said all the proper things, the importance of learning, and the importance of mitzvah. He says, but when he would mention how someone bought a new car, that's when his eyes would really light up. So, there are places in the world where that type of thing, that type of material success is important. But, if you live in a certain type of society and you boast or you take pride in that type of material success, it's a humiliation. For a Jew to begin to think this way, that the key to our success is our strength. You are deserving of the most total humiliation, and therefore you become an Eved. You become a slave. And that's what happened in Mitzrayim. They became avodim in Mitzrayim when they began to think like Mitzrayim. Remember, it says in the pasuk like this. There's a pasuk in Keheles. I saw slaves riding horses, and the officers, right, were walking on the ground. So he was pointing out that it's a topsy-turvy world. The person who should be walking is riding, and the person who's riding is walking. Right? This is the simon of what it means to be a slave. Right? A slave means you don't have a horse. So the horse is symbolic of his strength and position. Balaboteach b'Hashem, and when it comes to a person who trusts God, Nemer, it says, Al sus loy nirkov. This is an haftarah of Shabbos Shuvah. Right? Al sus loy nirkov. We will not ride horses. Nor will we call God to the works of our hands, to our own creations. What does it mean? We're not going to say Eloheinu l'masi yadenu. Now this is an amazing thing, because the simple pshat in the pasuk goes like this. It refers to Avodah Zarah. In those days, a person would manufacture an idol, then he'd worship it. So he would, through something he created with his own hands, he would say Eloheinu. But there's another meaning. You know, in American money, U.S. money, what does it say on it? In God do we trust, right? Many people look at the money as God, right? Or the things they produce as God. That's what it means to say Eloheinu l'masi yadeinu, right? I work, I make a livelihood, I generate wealth. That's my God, right? I don't need God. This serves in place of God. Right? The most I ask of God is don't interfere. Just don't stick your nose into things and I'll be fine. But then you're treating the works of your hand as God. Right? God is meant to be the source of your life, the source of your success, the source of your happiness. And instead, what is the source of your life, and the source of your success, and the source of your happiness? Things you produce with your own hands. So basically, you are taking my seyadenu, you're taking the works of your hands and saying, you're my God. I mean, maybe in a theological sense you're not saying that, but in reality you are using the works of your hands to play the role of God. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. You shouldn't trust in the strength of your hand. But doing that is called riding a horse. So therefore it says in the same breath that there are two things we're not going to do. We're not going to ride horses, and we're not going to say Eloheinu l'masi yadeinu, because they're both the same. The symbolism of riding the horse is the idea that my own strength is the key. Now the question is this. The question is, what did Shlomo HaMelech think? The Gemara says that Shlomo HaMelech sent people back to Mitzrayim to bring them back horses. Right? So what was the cheshbon? Shlomo HaMelech olav v'shalom, right? Shlomo HaMelech of blessed memory, sheyasav al kisei Hashem, he sat on the throne of God. Every throne has a name. In Ethiopia, it was the peacock throne.
Iran,
the peacock throne. So that's the name of the throne. What is the name of the Jewish throne? It's Kisei Hashem, the throne of God. The throne of the Jewish king is called Kisei Hashem. So it says that Shlomo HaMelech sat on Kisei Hashem. What does that mean? Lios Malchuso Malchus Shemayim. That his kingdom is the kingdom of heaven. Ukvodo Kvod Shemayim. And his honor is the honor of heaven. In other words, it's hard for us to imagine, because in our way of thinking, our personal honor is a steer, it's a contradiction to the honor of heaven. But Shlomo HaMelech, as God's representative, as the occupant of Kisei Hashem, so his wealth, his success, is really the honor of God. Now you may know that there was a great machlokes by Chassidim, you know that. And the Divrei Chaim and the Rishner. The Sanzer and the Rishner, you know that. The Sanzer held that it was appropriate for the tzaddikim to live in poverty. Right? And the Rishner lived in tremendous, tremendous wealth. Right? Because he was a king. He held he was the Merkava for the Midah of Malchus. Zman Hazeh. In Golos. And therefore his palace was really a tesefes of Kvod Shemayim. The Rishner was in prison for a number of years, and then when he escaped, he went to Romania. So he was in Sarajevo. And I know people that saw the palace. It was after the visionary died already. But the palace was there. It was a magnificent palace.
Was he the one who didn't wear soles?
I was saying the visionary wore beautifully carved boots, but the boots supposedly had no bottoms, no soles, so he walked barefoot. But there was a bitter machlokes. It sounds not that way, but this is the idea. At least by Shlomo Melech, certainly it was that way. That his malchus was covered Hashem. He never thought like this. Chashav, he thought, shegam sheyarba b'hizgabras da'ifsim yad, that even though he will do tremendous works that are works of power, lo yoshuv ha'om lo klipas mitzrayim. Right, the people won't revert back to the tumah of Mitzrayim, litleis hakel b'zeh, ushlo l'ftayach b'Hashem yizrach, not to trust in God. He thought there was no danger. Ki etzlo haya pasuach davar zeh b'libo, because this was clear in his heart. Shekol his gabras ha'odom, that even when man exerts effort, hakol mi Hashem yizbarach, v'kayach ha'gvura sh'lamala, and it's the power that comes from above, neged oivei Hashem, right, against the enemies of God, va'amo, and their people. And he thought that we have a cloud, that things that come from the heart penetrate the heart. So we thought that his thoughts would penetrate the hearts of all Jews. Slowly, not to take pride in their strength. Canal, as mentioned above. In other words, you have to understand, it's no trick, right? If you sit and do nothing, and somehow you have parnasa, and you are safe from your enemies, it's not a kunz, right? Because, of course, right? You know, obviously it comes from God, right? The trick is to work and to toil and to be mishtadel and to recognize it comes from God. That's a bigger trick. Shlomo Melech had mastered that. And Shlomo Melech thought that, therefore, his thoughts would penetrate the hearts of all the Jewish people. He was mistaken, right? In other words, that he was a very, very mighty king, and people were toil of the strength in him, and it was a michshel. That's why he ultimately lost his malchus. But that's what the Gemara says. The Gemara says that Shlomo Melech was guilty of this, of sending the people back to L'man Har B'Sus, which means he was guilty of creating within the nation a spirit of reliance on their own strength, their ingenuity, the works of their hands, etc., and not giving credit to the Ribono Shel Olam where credit is due. That's what his flaw was. But this is what Mitzrayim is all about. And we have to hold here, but this is what we're going to say, that Shlomo HaMelech wanted to absorb Mitzrayim. That's why he wanted to marry the Bas Paro. He wanted to marry the daughter of Paro. In those days, marriage wasn't just marriage. Because when you married a princess of another nation, the potential existed for integrating that nation into your own nation. What Shlomo Melech wanted to do was take over Mitzrayim, essentially. But it was premature and ultimately unsuccessful.